today I'm going to take you through a sequence which is helping to stretch and strengthen your quads and your hamstrings. So have a block and a towel to pad your knees because we're going to be lunging, and also you might want like a small hand towel, or I use a thick pair of socks just to help open through the back and the knees if your knees can be a bit sore. So starting in Virasana, hero pose. So use your block to help this pose, so to open gently through the front of the thighs. Come to kneel. Have the block to sit back on, so point your toes behind you, so don't allow the heels to roll out. So press the tops of the feet down, heels are pointing up, and then sit back towards on the block. Take your heels a little out to the side, and you might even want to take your thumbs to the inside of the calves and roll them out. And again, if you've got maybe one knee that's a little sore, you can pull that or a towel just into the back of the knee joint. It just helps to open it a little. So this is hero pose, just helping to open through the thighs, the front of the knees. And sit nice and tall. The actual full pose is with your bottom on the mat between your heels. So if that feels okay for you, but often if you're a sporty person, your knees won't like that. So this is a version of, and while you're sitting here, just feel how if you tilt your hips, so tip your tailbone back and then scoop your tailbone under, and see if that makes a little difference to how the thighs feel. And then we're just going to ground ourselves a moment, so sit with your eyes closed now. Rest your hands on your thighs. And as you sit up tall, lift the chest and then slide your shoulder blades down your back. Tilt your chin slightly. And close your mouth, inhaling through your nose. And exhaling through the nose. And just feeling the sensation of the breath, and start to lengthen the inhale and lengthen the exhale. Bringing the inhale deep into the belly, and then feeling the side ribs spreading, breath coming into the top of the chest. And then on the exhale, the chest sinks, keep the length in the spine, and then squeezing your navel towards the spine. Squeeze the diaphragm. And on your next exhalation, lowering your head and opening your eyes. So the breath is really important. One is that it helps you to control stress. So sometimes if I'm feeling that I'm just getting a bit anxious or overwhelmed with something, or feeling a little wound up by somebody, I can bring one hand to my belly, one hand to my chest. And just follow your breath. Just breathe in, swell the breath through the belly, so you feel that hand pressing outwards, and then feel the chest lift and sink. And the same in our sport, you take control back of the breath. So stop breathing just through the top of the chest. As you get puffed, bring the breath in deep. Relax your shoulders and bring your control back. So from here we're then going to come into downward facing dog. So making sure that your Your wrists are kept safe. You spread your fingers, point your index finger towards the top of the mat, and then press more weight into the index finger and the thumb, and then place all the knuckles down and the palm, so you really feel that suction into the mat, but make sure you're not leaning onto the outside of the wrist. Press through the index finger and the thumb, come onto your toes, lift your hips, bend your knees. Often, if hamstrings are tight, it's very difficult to try and straighten your legs without the lower back really curling. So bend your knees, come up on your toes and press through this. The hands lift up, straight arms, squeeze your core, so tailbone tips up, and then start to take your thigh bones back, lowering the heels towards the mat. It doesn't matter if they don't get there, and if even this doesn't feel right, just keep your knees gently bent to feel that length through the spine. Inhale. Lift your right leg up, lower the left heel towards the mat. So point your toe, lifting up, and then bend. You want to externally rotate the right thigh, bend at the knee, and just drop the right foot behind the left hip. Push through the palms, just opening. Push the knee away from you, feel opening through the hip, and then inhale, roll the hip back down, bring the knee towards your nose, and then bring your foot between your hands. So you can help that by taking the back of the calf to help bring the right foot forward. Make sure your feet are hip distance apart. Come up onto your fingertips, so hands are beside the front foot. Sink through the right knee, keep the knee above the ankle, and then you might want to pad your knee. Your knees are sensitive. Drop the left knee down, but behind the hip. Don't bring it forward so that it's under the hip. You want to feel the stretch through the psoas, front of the thigh, the hip flexor. So drop that left knee down. Stay with the toes under for the moment, and then coming up into a low lunge. Hands on the thigh. Just gently stroke that thigh forward. Don't rest heavily here. You want the lift up through the chest, sink the hip down, just rest your hands and just stroke that thigh forward. So while the left knee is on the mat, we can bring the right knee forward. We need to protect our knees. So if you're in a lunge position or any position with a bent knee, you want to keep the knee above the ankle, but here we're supported by the left knee. Now you can flatten the left foot, sink the hips a little more, feel this opening through the hip flexor, and it's, if you sink the hips down, it's almost like you're scooping your tailbone under. And we're stretching out the quad. You should feel also a stretch in the right hamstring. Okay, and then bring your palms down beside either side of the right foot. Tuck the left toes under. And then bring the right foot back behind you and place it hip distance apart next to the left foot. So coming into down dog, lifting your tailbone up. If you need to bend your knees, that's fine. Press through the index finger and the thumb. And then same leg, you're going to lift the right leg up again, but this time you're going to take, as you roll forward into plank, right knee lifts towards the right armpit, then you're going to place the right foot on the outside of the right hand. And turn the toes to point out slightly and allow your knee to point in that direction, so your thigh's in the same direction as the foot. And again, if you need to pad your left knee, but you're going to lower the left knee down way behind the hip, flatten the left foot. This is lizard. So from here, press up through the palms. You want to almost round out between the shoulder blades, reach the chest forward. And then allow the right foot to roll onto its outer edge, and the thigh follows. So feel that opening through the hip. And you can either stay here, but if you feel that you can come a little lower, you can come down with forearms on your block. So hands clasped in front of you, but keep that length in the spine. If you feel it's a bit uncomfortable through the back knee, it might help to tuck the left toes under, reach the chest forward, whichever feels good, and you can come even deeper if you can get both forearms onto the mat and still reach your chest forward, still allowing the right thigh to roll outwards, then come down onto the mat, but otherwise you need to stay a little bit higher, because it might be that you've got your right elbow lifting. So feel how that feels for your body. Inhale, press the palms down into the mat. So palms under shoulders, tuck the left toes under. Lift the right leg back up behind you and then come back into down dog. Controlling the breath, so feeling the length of the inhale and the exhale. And on the next inhale, you're going to lift the left leg up. And then rolling the knee up, opening through the left hip, dropping the left toes behind you. Push up through the palms. And then inhale, and as you exhale, bring the knee back down, roll forward into plank, knee to nose, and then bring the left foot between your hands. Have your towel ready or cushion to protect the right knee. You're going to drop the right knee down, come into a low lunge. So flatten the right foot. And as you're coming up, you're gently stroking that thigh forward, just resting your hands on the thigh. A little gentle scoop of the tailbone under. And relax your shoulder blades down your back, so shoulders away from ears. Inhale, and then as you exhale, bring your palms down either side of the front foot, tuck the right toes back under, lifting the left leg up behind you and then coming into down dog. Inhale, lift the left leg up behind you, roll forward into plank, knee to nose. This time you're going to take the knee to the left elbow, place the left foot on the outside of the left hand for lizard. Turn the toes out to the side a little and allow the thigh to come in that direction. Reach the chest forward and then drop the right knee down behind the hips. Flatten the foot. And then rolling as you keep that length in the spine. Roll onto the outer edge of the foot. Let the thigh travel in the same direction. And then you can start to come down. So if you want to come onto your block, or to come a little lower, keep length in the spine, chest coming forward, shoulders away from ears. So that's not sinking down, you're pushing up through your forearms. Okay, and then inhaling. Palms to the mat, tuck the right toes under, lift the left leg up and then come back into down dog. Okay, then inhaling, roll forward into plank, place your left knee behind your left wrist and then cross the shins. You're going to then sit back. Bring your legs out in front of you. So for seated forward fold, which is going to stretch through the back of the thighs, as you lift up through your core, so you press down through your sitting bones, so you can lift up, so you squeeze your pelvic floor, lift up through the pelvic floor, navel to spine, and as the chest lifts, roll the shoulders back and down, so shoulder blades slide down your back. Just bring your hands to your thighs for a moment. And then take your hands to your hips. So what will tend to happen here is, as we reach forward, that people's arms are going to reach, your fingertips are going to try and reach towards your toes, and you'll feel that stretch through the upper shoulders. So it's nothing to do with the arms and the upper shoulders at this stage, it's the core. Lift up through your core, and then you want to lean forward a little, so almost trying to roll the bony part of the pelvis forward, taking the tailbone back. So just slide your hands down your shins. This might be enough, but feeling as you flex your feet, press the back of the thighs down. Squeeze your core. So if you can, reach 2 fingers and the thumbs to wrap around your big toes, but not at the expense of the core. So as soon as you feel that you're overreaching through the arms, lift the chest back up. Press the backs of the thighs down, push the heels away. You can even just bring your palms to the mat. So working through the core. You can feel the backs of your legs here. And then start to use the exhale. So inhaling, and then as you exhale, deepen into the pose. And as with all of these poses, there's a word in Sanskrit called ahimsa, which means non-self-harming, non-violence, and that's towards yourself to start. So, excuse me, so making sure you have no pain. You should maybe feel a burning sensation in the belly of the muscles, it's stretching or working. But through any pain, through any joints, the spine and so on, then you come out of that pose, just take it easy. Okay, then inhale, sitting up. Again, press through your sitting bones, lift up through your core, staff pose, Dandasana. Bring your palms just to the side and back of your hips, so lift up through the core, and you're not pushing up through your palms, just resting them there. But bringing the elbows slightly towards each other, so you'll feel the chest opening. Okay, then inhale. Roll to your side, so roll to your right side, bend your left leg, point the left foot behind you, put your hand to the top of the calf and with your thumb bring the calf out to the side, and then bring the flesh of the right buttock out so you can sit a bit more evenly. You'll feel that you're sagging to the right, so you might want to either roll up your towel and prop it under your right hip, or just have your hand beside you. Flex the right leg. We were trying to, this will work through the side body as well, but inhale, bring your arms up, lift up through the core. So just as you were in seated forward fold with both legs straight, you're now going to reach forward. And again, if you can reach the foot, that's fine. If not, then your hands will go beside you, but try to lift the chest, press the back of the right thigh down. Reach forward, so feeling that stretch through the back of the right thigh, but also opening through the quad on the left leg. Okay, then inhale, arms up. Exhale, palms together at your heart center. Roll to the right, bring the left leg out. Roll over to the other side, bend the right leg. Bring your thumb to the inside of the calf to roll it out. And again, you can put that sock or a small towel through the back of the knee joint here to give a little more opening. So lift the left buttock, the flesh there, just pulling it out a little so you feel a little bit more even. Press through the left heel, flex the left foot, press the thigh down to the mat. Inhale, lift up through your core, arms up, palms together. And then exhale as you lift the chest, squeeze your core, reach over the front of the pelvis. And again, you can fold over that leg, holding onto the foot, or just have your hands beside you so the head and shoulders are relaxed. Squeeze your core. Press strongly down through the left thigh. And then inhale, your arms up. Exhale, hands to heart center, roll to the left side, bring the right leg out. We're going to open through the front body a little and work through strengthening the back body, coming into reverse plank, Purvottanasana. So press your palms down into the mat behind your hips, fingertips pointing towards your bottom, and squeeze your elbows towards each other, lift up the chest. So feel that opening through the collarbones, squeeze the shoulders towards each other. So you want strength and stability through the shoulders. Point your toes, and you'll feel your thighs might want to roll out, so you're going to internally rotate the thighs. So they're rolling inwards, so the knees point directly up. Point your toes. And then you're going to, as you squeeze and lift the chest, you're then going to lift the hips. Keep looking down towards your feet. Keep those thighs rolling towards each other. Squeeze gently through the glutes. If you feel you have the control through your neck and space, you drop your head back. You've got to be able to lift it back up again. Look towards your feet. Lower your hips. And come to sit. Then we're going to come into Janusisasana, so I'll show you this way. So take your legs wider, press through the heels, and then you're going to bend. I'll mirror you, so this is your left leg. Bend your left leg, the right leg is straight. So flex the right foot, press the back of the thigh down, press the sole of the left foot against your inner thigh, and try and soften through the left hip. If you feel that your knee is just sticking up a little, you can roll up a towel and just prop there, so you're able to relax the hip. Inhale, sit up, so press through your sitting bones, lifting up, arms lift, palms together. Now with that lift through the spine, navel to spine, revolve your core, so now you're facing over the right thigh, and exhale, fold. You can reach for the foot, but again, if you lose connection with the core and it's all about the arms and the upper shoulders, relax your hands either side, regain that strength through the core, relax your head and shoulders. Use your breath, steady and deep. Inhale, reach the chest forward, lift the arms up, come back to center, exhale, hands to your heart. Take the feet wide again, bend the right leg, press the sole of the right foot against the left thigh, flex the left toes, so you feel that's, you're able to press the back of the thigh down. Inhale, press through your sitting bones, lift through your core, arms come up. As you press the palms together, get length in the spine, revolve and fold with the exhale over the right thigh. Again, hands can be to the side, press the right thigh down, but still feel that connection between the sole of the foot and the right thigh, the left thigh, sorry. Inhale, coming up, arms lifted, palms palms together, rotate this so the chest is facing between the thighs. Exhale, hands to heart center. So take the feet wide again, so they don't have to be just as wide as they can. You don't have to be reaching to the ends of the mat. We all have different flexibility levels, so especially, you know, active people like me, I'm still a little stiff through the hips. Bring your towel or your block, and if you feel that it's hard for you to sit up straight in this position because your hamstrings are so tight, then we're going to prop the hips up. So I'm going to sit, I'll show you this way. So just sit on your block or blanket so that your hips will roll towards the front. So so you're almost on the edge of your sitting bones. Makes it easier then to straighten your spine. So lift up through the pelvic floor, navel to spine, flex at the ankles, press the backs of the thighs down. And as you lift up through the chest, you're just going to walk your fingertips forward. And again, it's not about the upper back, so don't collapse in yet. We are coming to you curling in with the core, but at the moment you're going to lift up, so the energy is lifting up. Roll the front of the hips, the pelvis forward, reach your fingertips as you keep pushing through your heels, the backs of your thighs. So just get to the point where maybe your chest is on the floor, but for me, this is enough for me. But so I'm really pulling up strongly through my thighs, pressing down towards the mat, squeezing my core, and as I reach my chest forward, just really feeling the backs of the legs opening. Now inhale, walk your fingertips back in, keep that lift out, so sitting up a little bit straighter, suck the core in, so lift up the pelvic floor, navel to spine, and then curl the chest down, so really sucking the core in, rolling forward a little. Inhale, lift the chest. Take your hands behind your knees, lean back a little, pull the legs up. And we're going to take a vinyasa, so a little mini flow. So cross at the ankles, but you want to point your toes. So now you can, if you had your feet flexed, it's difficult to roll forward. So you're going to point your toes behind you, so you roll over the tops of your feet onto your knees. I'm going to move my blanket. Palms pressing in, step the feet back, roll into plank, push up between the shoulder blades, squeeze the core, thighs squeeze towards the midline, and then roll the elbow forward into chaturanga. So this is low press up, but with the elbows hugged to your side, and then lower to the mat. Inhale to cobra, so tops of the feet pressing in, pubic bone presses in, lift the chest, just a low lift of the chest, hug the elbows in and then slide them towards your waist, and the gaze is down. Exhale, tuck your toes as you lower your chest down, and then lifting up into down dog. And now we're going to come into warrior two. So you're going to lift the right leg up, roll forward into plank, knee to nose, and place the right foot between your hands. Drop the left heel down. So now you're coming up, the right heel is in line with the instep of the back foot. The back foot is parallel to the back of the mat. Bend through the right knee. So knee above ankle. Don't allow it to fold inwards. So you want to work, you've got your quadriceps, 4 muscles here. So we want to work the outer, the inner, and also we're helping to stretch the hamstrings underneath. So there are 3 of those. So you need to keep it in line to make sure you're working all of them in balance. Sink the hips, take the arms wide, lift the shoulders up, roll them back, slide the shoulder blades towards your waist, look over your front hand. So feel space through the tops of the shoulders, And as you sink the hips, the shoulders are stacked above your hips, so we're not leaning forward. So one more breath. Then inhale, come into Trikonasana triangle, straighten the front leg, lift up through the thighs, squeeze them towards the midline and feel the energy of your heel, front heel and the back foot dragging towards each other. Lift that energy up. Take the left hip back. You're reaching over the front leg. Now feel that inner thigh, maybe the inner knee. Lovely stretch there, and side body long, so we're not going to just curl, collapse in. So we're going to take the left hip back, reach as far as you can with the right hand. Side body long, which means you want length from the top of the right hip to the right armpit. Keep it long, 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 and then release the top hand down. Feel how strongly as you lower down, you need to pull up through the right thigh. Take the back of the right hand against the shin, and then lift the top hand. Tuck the right buttock under slightly, lean back, look up at your top hand, pull up through the thighs, draw the shins and ankles towards each other. It's almost like your hips and shoulders are in one plane. Inhale, coming up, arms go wide. Exhale into warrior two again, look over the front hand. Now we're going to come into a half moon, Ardha Chandrasana. So you're going to have your block just about a foot in front of the right foot and just slightly to the side. Keep in your warrior two legs, and then step the left foot forward slightly, bend through the right knee, reach for the block, and then come onto your tiptoes on the back foot. As you're bending through the right thigh, then lifting up strongly through the standing leg. Extend the chest, flex the left foot and bring your left hand to your hip. Reach, reach, reach the chest forward so your shoulder should be above your wrist. And now you're going to start to turn your head to the side and roll the left side of the hip up and open. So flexing the left foot, so strongly lifting up through the thigh, and then release the left hand up. Keep that breath nice and even and balanced, deep into the belly. Inhale, and then as you exhale, look down, left hand to left hip, and then float the left foot down. And then bend your knees, hold onto your elbows, ragdoll, relax your head. You can even rock there a little. Okay, then inhaling, hands to hips, squeeze your elbows towards each other, start to straighten, lift through the thighs. Coming up nice and slowly. I'm going to turn so I'm facing the right way for you. So we're going to take another vinyasa. So from the front of the mat, bend your knees, palms down, step back. Roll forward into plank. Squeeze the thighs and shins to the midline. Press up between your shoulder blades. And then elbows squeeze towards each other, lowering to the mat. Inhale to cobra. Tops of the feet and the pubic bone pressing down. So you'll feel your kneecaps lift as the thighs engage. And then draw your shoulder blades down your back. Gazes forward or down. Exhale. Tuck your toes under. Lifting the hips up into down dog. Inhale. Lift the left leg up, roll forward into plank, knee to nose, left foot between your hands. Drop the right heel down, coming up into warrior two. Sink through the left knee, keeping the knee directly above the ankle, opening through the thighs, feeling the external rotation of the right thigh. So the right foot is parallel to the back of the mat. So you sink the hips down, inhale, arms go wide, relax the shoulders down your back, look over your left hand. So if you can sink a little deeper. If you feel that you're not getting enough of a stretch through the thigh or your knee is coming forward, just take your feet a little wider. So the wider they are, the harder it is, but also the better. You'll feel it much more. And then inhale to triangle, Trikonasana, straighten the front leg. Lift up through the thighs, shoulder blades draw towards each other. Take the right hip back. Side body long, so lifting, keep the chest lifting, keep that length between the left hip and the left armpit. Reach over the front leg. And then lower the left, the back of the left hand comes against the shin. Reach the top hand up. Squeeze the shoulder blades towards each other and slide them down your back. And then inhale, coming up, come back into warrior two, sink through the left knee. And we're going to come into half moon, Ardha Chandrasana. So the block is going to be top left of your mat. We're going to step the right toes slightly forward, keep bending through the left knee, reach for the block. And then lift up through the standing leg, lift the back leg, right hand to right hip. Flex the right foot and roll, externally rotate, roll the right thigh out, opening through the right hip. And then start to, you can keep your hand on your hip, but if it feels like you've got the stability, you'll reach the top hand up and then turn your head. Keep the back thigh lifting, pushing through the heel. Inhale, and as you exhale, look down, right hand to hip, float the right leg next to the left, and ragdoll. Okay, so from ragdoll, come onto your knees. Tuck your toes under. So spreading the toes, seeing if you can even get the little toe touching the mat. This is a lovely stretch for the plantar fascia, that little, or the connective tissue across the sole of the foot. So thighs parallel, sit back on your heels. It might be a bit intense. If you want to, you can just come forward a little. So the plantar fascia, we never pay enough attention to our feet considering we're on them all day. So this connective tissue attaches, the Achilles attaches into it, and the Achilles being the largest tendon in the body. So this is helping to release the lower leg, to give a little bit of space for the Achilles. Okay. Before we come into camel, we're just going to stretch the front of the shins and the ankles. So point your toes behind you. Then you're going to sit back on your heels, bring your palms beside you, and then lift your knees. So pressing through the tops of the feet. So you're trying to lift the knees up and feel that stretch through the ankle. You can lower one knee and do one at a time if that feels better. If you're running, sometimes people get shin splints, which is when the impact and the muscle starts to peel away from the bone. Not very pleasant, really painful. So that's often if you've picked your pace up over a period of time too quickly, or your distance. So this helps to stretch out through the front of the shins and the ankles. Okay, coming back to tuck the toes under and sit back on your heels and bring your block. If you had 2 blocks, that can help, but you can do with just 1. So with camel pose, it's a back bend, so we need to be very careful of the lower back. So we're just going to do a modification of, so I'll show you, I'll have the my toes under, tucked under, and then I can bring the block to the side of my foot on either side. And then lift up. You might want to pad your knees, and we want to keep hands to your hips, and you want to scoop your tailbone under. So rather than letting your bottom stick out, scoop your tailbone under. You'll start to feel the front of the thighs more. Bring your hands to the small of your back with your fingertips pointing down towards the ground. Hug the elbows towards each other. Lift the chest. So you'll feel that broadening across the chest. Lift up through the core. And it's not so much pressing the hips forward, it's a lift, it's an upward lift. And tuck the tailbone under. And then start to curl through the upper back. So squeeze the elbows towards each other, bring the shoulders away from ears. So you're trying to keep, a good way to do this is to kneel against the wall. So you're trying to keep your pelvis and your thighs pressing into the wall. But you won't lift. So if you don't use your core and you sink down, you're going to impact the lower back. Okay, come forward a moment, just sit back on your heels. Flexion. This is building strength in the back body, but also opening through the front of the thighs, the psoas, hip flexors, the quads. So to deepen it, if that felt okay, you can just do that again. But you want that activation, you want length upwards, and then start to curl through the upper back. But you want to tuck the tailbone under, lift up through your core. And then you can reach for the block, or blocks. So now you can start to take the head back, press, tuck the tailbone, scooping it under. And then inhale, coming up. And then flatten, so you're on the tops of your feet. Just come to sit. Remove the blocks. Okay. Coming forward to stand. We're going to come into dancer pose. So this pose, to open through the quads, you can use a piece of furniture to balance against. So all the balancing poses are brilliant for leg strength, because obviously you're working through the legs individually rather than one compensating for the other. So you'll see where you have any imbalances and you can then work on that. But if you feel that you can't get the benefit of the pose because your balance is really off, then hold on to furniture. No judgment, it is what it is. And it will get better if you work on it. So standing with all the balancing poses, find your drishti, which is your soft focus gaze point, so fixed point in front of you. And then we're going to stand on the right leg first, but don't just automatically lift the leg. Bring your hands to your hips first, touch the left toes behind you, bend through the right leg. So this is like, because then it's a conscious lift, rather than just snapping the right knee back and hyperextending through the back of the knee. We want that lift up through the thigh, lifting, lift, lift, lift. And then lift the chest, squeeze your core, start to reach the chest forward, and then bend the left leg behind you. Take the left hand to the top of the left foot, drop the knee down so you're not opening to the side. You want the knee pointing down so the hips are level. And then start to, as you lean forward, you're pushing the foot into the hand. You'll feel this opening through the shoulder as well. So keep the shoulder reaching forward, trying to keep the hips level. And then if you feel stable enough, you can reach the top hand forward. You can lower the chest, pull up strongly through the right thigh. Then inhale, coming up, right hand to hip, release the left foot down. So that's why you can probably hold the pose longer and feel the stretch more if you're balancing, but just seeing the benefits of both, that you'll be building really excellent ankle, lower leg strength in the standing leg if you're not holding on to something. So we're going to come to the other side. So again, bend your knees, bring your hands to your hips, take the right foot behind you, pick your drishti, lifting up, start to lift up through the left thigh, lift the right leg, bend the right knee, take the right hand to the top of the foot, and then start to, as you lift the chest, press the hand away from you with the foot and start to tip forward, pulling up strongly through the left thigh. Feel that quad stretch. So lower the knee, or rather knee more down than open. And then when you're stable, you can release the left hand forward. And then inhale, coming up, release the feet together. Exhale. Okay, coming to feet hip distance apart, we're going to come into pyramid pose. So take the left foot back, but only maybe 2.5 feet. Hip distance apart, because we're going to swivel, so it gives you space through the hips to turn towards the front of the mat. Left toes are pointing out slightly towards the edge of the mat. Hands to hips. Turn your hips in line with the front of the mat. Lift up strongly through both thighs, and then lift up through the core and start to reach your chest forward. Lovely stretch for the right leg. Keep lifting up the thighs, so muscles work in pairs. So even though it's a straight leg, you're trying to lift the kneecap, that action, because as you activate the quad, you're stretching the hamstring. So one strengthens while the other stretches. Keep the hips level, because as you reach forward, your right hip is going to want to roll forward. So level the hips, pull the right thigh bone up. And you can, if you want to use your block, you can either stay where you are. That feels good enough. If you want to take it deeper, you can start to fold. Keep length in the chest, squeeze the core, and then start to fold towards that leg, or bring hands either side of the leg. But here it's like really strongly drawing up the right thigh, squeezing the core, relaxing the shoulders, lowering the head, and then come out the way you went in. So reach the chest forward, squeeze the thighs to the midline, inhale, coming up, exhale, step to the front of the mat, inhale, take the right foot back into pyramid, so feet hip distance apart, right toes point out towards the side of the mat, hips level to the front of the mat, pull up strongly through the thighs, reach the chest forward. Just get to where it feels good for you, but making sure you've got your big toes pressing down, so all 4 corners of the feet are pressing into the mat. You don't want to roll out onto the edge of the foot, compromising the ankle, so reach the chest forward, squeeze your core, and then if you want to come lower to the block or for the floor, keep that length, and as you feel the left side of the hip swing forward, you're going to draw it back, extend and fold. Use your breath. Okay, then inhale, reach your chest forward, squeeze the thighs to the midline, lift up through the kneecaps, hands to hips, elbows squeeze towards each other, coming up, exhale, step to the front of the mat, here we're going to come into warrior 3, another balancing pose. So again, if you want to use furniture, we're going to start on the right leg. So lift up through the thighs, then bend a little, take the left toes back. Reaching up, extending the left leg behind you, flex the foot, and again, like dancer pose, don't allow the left side to roll open. You're rolling the left hip down so the hips are level, and as you press through the left heel, start to lift the leg, straighten the right leg, and then you can, whichever you feel, you can keep your hands on your hips, you can come to airplane, which is arms wide to the side, or warrior 3, Virabhadrasana 3, as the arms come forward. Keep the left heels up, pull strongly up through the right thigh, ears between arms, drop the hip so it's internally rotating the left thigh, then inhale, hands to hips, lifting up, float the feet next to each other. Regain composure, nice deep inhale and exhale, and then coming to the other side, left foot. So starting with feet hip distance apart, bend through the left thigh, touch the right toes behind you, then lift up, engage your core, flex the right foot and start to lift the right leg. Level the hips and then reach the arms forward. Internally rotating that right thigh. Lift up strongly through the left and then inhale, hands to hips, float the right foot. Just take a ragdoll for a moment. So bend your knees. Hold on to your elbows. Now dropping your hands down, I'm going to take a vinyasa. So palms down, step back to down dog, roll forward into plank, lowering through chaturanga, inhaling cobra. Exhale, tuck your toes under, lift your hips into down dog. And from down dog, lift the right leg up, lower the left heel. So point your right toe, press through your palms, feel that length from the arms, the armpits are almost pressing towards the ground. In the back leg, and then inhale, roll forward, bring your right knee to your right wrist and point the toes across to the other side of the mat and down. Drop your left knee and slide your left leg back. This is pigeon pose. So this can be a runner's nemesis, very tight through the hips and so on, or if you've been sitting down a lot, working hard at your desk. So this is a pose that we're trying to release the muscles, not engage, so that we need to set up correctly to make sure there's no pain through the knee and so on. So making sure you're comfortable enough, but it's going to be a stretch. It will start to burn through the right thigh. So firstly we're going to bring your hands back, so up on your fingertips towards your front knee, so you can sink your hips. You want the hips level, and what will happen is the right hip will want to roll. You want to roll towards the right hip. So use a blanket roll or your block and just prop that hip so you can sit up a little straighter. And then when you have length, start to come forward. And it might be enough just to stay here. If that's enough, fine. But if you can you'll come forward or even fold, but you want to keep your hips balanced. And then breathe into it. You feel that stretch. So this pigeon pose is amazing to help open through the hips and the glutes. There's also the piriformis, the tiny little muscle inside the buttock, which the sciatic nerve goes under it. So sometimes that gets really tight, called piriformis syndrome. So this is really helpful. If your knees are hurting, you can actually, so those of you, if it's fine, you're going to stay in this pose, but if you need an option, come onto your back, feet on the ground, and then bring the right thigh across the left, flex the foot, and then you're going to reach your right hand between your legs, and then clasp your hands behind the left thigh. Keep that right foot flexed because it's going to protect the knee joint, activates the lower leg muscles, and then lie back, head and shoulders down, and just draw the thigh towards you, the left thigh towards you, and your elbow will press the right thigh out. And it's the same essentially, but you can control the pressure through the knee. But those of you that are in pigeon, you can either stay here or we're going to deepen the pose a little to get a quad stretch as well. So you'll come onto your palms, bend the left knee behind you. So you might want to pad that knee. And we're going to take the left hand to the top of the left foot. But trying to keep, you can actually have the block beside you. Sorry. You can have your block beside you, so as you come up, it's a balance as well. So as you get the quad stretch, you will automatically want to roll to the side. So you can press your right hand onto the right block, and then level the hips, sink the hips, lift the chest, because it's a back bend as well. You want the elbow to go up, so your hand will roll onto the top of the foot. Feel that opening through the chest as well, and sinking the hips, scooping the tailbone. Okay, then exhale, release. Those of you that are in normal pigeon, join us. Tuck the left toes under, palms down. You're going to lift the right leg up and just give it a little move around to feel the blood coming back through the hip there. Come into down dog. Inhale, lift the left leg up. Roll forward into plank, left knee into pigeon. So left knee behind left wrist, point the toes across and down the other side of the mat, slide the right foot back. If you need to prop the thigh so that you don't roll to the side, walk your fingertips back, chest lifts, engage your core, shoulders relaxed, sink your hips, and then come forward to whichever level feels good for you. Keep the hips level and breathe. On the exhale, think soft, relax, soft, 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 soft. So just softening through that left hip. And then either you stay in this version of pigeon, or thread the needle if you need to be on your back, or you can come into a king pigeon, but then pressing the palms down, bring the block to the outside of the knee, bend through the right right knee. So you should now be just on the top of the knee, sort of the bottom of the thigh there, rather than on the knee, on the patella, on the kneecap itself. So left hand comes to the block, take your right hand to the top of the foot, and rather than draw it in immediately, you want to make sure the hips are sinking, and take the elbow up, so you're opening, rolling open the right side of the hips, so drawing that heel, sink the hips, scoop the tailbone so you can feel stretch through the quad. And then exhale, release, palms down, tuck the right toes under, lift the left leg up and give it a shake, come into down dog. So now down dog, feeling into this pose. So as you bend your knees, come up on your toes, press through your palms, so just spread your fingers as wide as possible, press all the knuckles down, index finger and thumb firmly pressing in, and then start to take your thigh bones back and descend your heels in the direction of the mat. Lift your tailbone. So feel your armpits coming towards the mat. So it's all about spine length first, and then as you start to feel the back body, as you tip your tailbone up, you'll feel your hamstrings and calves stretching. And then inhale, come forward into child's pose. So bring your knees down, take your knees wide, toes touching, sit back towards your heels and slide your hands away from you. But keep the forearms lifted, palms pressing down, and rest your forehead and the tip of the nose onto the mat. You might want to pull that sock into the back of the knee joint, or you can even roll on your back and hug your knees to the outside of your rib cage, whichever feels good. So as you press the palms down, push them away from you. Feel that length in the spine, the side body, and trying to draw your hips down towards your heels. Keep the arms active. And then inhale, coming forward, and come to sit. So we're going to lie back, but knees bent, feet on the floor, and coming into bridge pose. But have your arms by your side, press your palms and your forearms into the mat, and then bring your heels back to where you can touch them with your toes, so thighs are parallel. If you know that if you're going to lift your hips, your thighs will start to roll out, then get your block and put it between your knees, so you're squeezing inwards. But otherwise, imagine it's there. So the knees aren't touching, but they're hugging towards the midline. As you press through the forearms and the palms, lower, so press the lower back into the mat as you inhale, and then lift your hips. So rather than just squeezing your glutes and pushing upwards, you want to press your knees away from you. So as the knees go away, the hips lift, and you'll feel your hamstrings, if you give them a little poke, softly engaged and the glutes, but not really overly clenching. That's what would then roll the thighs out. So keep the thighs pressing in the direction of the midline. Okay. One more breath, and then exhale, lower down vertebrae by vertebrae, so the hips come down last, nice and slow. Then we're going to go again. Inhale, press the lower back into the mat. Press the knees away from you. And this time you're going to clasp your hands together, push them towards your heels, and then roll side to side, so onto the tops of your arms. So you're tucking your arms under you, opening through the chest a little more. Squeeze the thighs to the midline. Lift your hips that little bit more as you press the fists towards your heels. And now dig your heels in. You feel the hamstrings engage. And then exhale, take the arms to the side, lowering down. Now we're going to do that once more each side, because we're now going to lift the legs. So arms out to the side. We're going to work through the glutes, the hamstrings. So inhale, lower back presses down, lift your hips. Press firmly through the left foot. You press your arms and palms down, lift the right leg, point the toe. But you want your thighs parallel, so don't lift the leg high. Thighs parallel, so the hips are level. Lift the hip, press through the sole of the foot. 3, 2, 1. Then bend the right knee, foot down, lower, through the vertebrae, hips coming down last. Take a breath. Then we can do the other side. Inhale, lower back presses in, lift the hips. Press firmly through the forearms, the palms, feel the length through the collarbones. And then as you press through the right sole of the foot, point to the left. Toes away from you. Keep the hips level. Keep the breath coming nice and even. 3, 2, 1. Left foot down on the mat, lower through the vertebrae. Straighten your legs. And then inhaling, hug the right knee in. Straighten the legs, hug the left knee in. And then inhale, hug both knees in. And then cross at the ankles, rock up to sitting. Bring your hands onto your thighs. Inhaling deeply, exhaling completely. Just taking a few moments here. Sorry for the interruption, that's my window cleaner. So, we're going to skip the meditation and say thank you for joining me. I hope that's helped lengthen and strengthen your hamstrings and quads. Let's meet again here soon. Namaste.